have you doing ready? It is of time to make go for the 16th episode of Übermetal, and experienced listeners will notice a little change around here because we're actually talking English. Doc, what's that about? Have we finally sold out to Spotify?
No, it's just because we have a very special guest today in this episode that will actually air on Christmas Eve on the 24th. And that is James Cartwright, one of the most active Twitch streamers of 2020, but to our audience better known as Gloryhammer's own divine BarbarenCyborg with a neutron star as a heart, the Hootsman. Thanks for being here, Jim.
You're welcome.
I think we all know that this is a pretty disastrous year with the pandemic and everything for the live industry, but I think it's also a great chance to get to know the people behind the music a little better, as for example through channels like Twitch. And I actually enjoyed very much seeing you several days a week during your Twitch stream. I'm actually lurking often in the background. And I found it very interesting to learn a little bit more about your background. And that is what we would like to talk with you about today as well.
Okay. Yeah, is that fine?
First question, we were wondering, you play in probably one of the most renowned power metal bands of the last decade, so to speak. But what many people don't know, what I didn't know before I researched you, you actually have a history in black metal. You had some projects called A Wretch of Blood and Whorestone. Were those just experiments, or can we look forward to more black metal in the future?
Nah, I can't be bothered writing black metal anymore. But like those bands you listed, like I guess you found it on what's it called, Metal Archives.
Exactly.
So nerdy, that website. Like there was a guy who used to like message me, and I just ignored the messages because he used to just like ask me questions because he wanted to put them on Metal Archives and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did have those bands. Like the first band I was ever in. Well, it was my own band, but it wasn't the first band I was ever in. But the first thing that I ever properly released was that Whorestone thing. It was shit, to be honest. So I don't know. It was, the songs were all right. It's just the guy who was doing the drums at the time was really crap at the drums, and it ruined the whole thing. So, but we did actually play together years later, jamming the songs when he was a really good drummer now. And it sounded a lot better. But obviously, you can't unrelease something. So. I just forget those things exist, to be honest. So every now and then I'm reminded they exist, and I'm just like, oh.
Sorry about that.
No, it doesn't matter that much. It's just like I still listen to, well, not regularly, but like, I mean, if I wanted to listen to some black metal, I don't like any of this new black metal stuff. Now it just seems fucking ridiculous, to be honest. But like, you know, like Emperor, Immortal, and things like that. Like, I still think that's good, but new stuff, I just don't get it. It's just like throwing blood into a crowd whilst playing one riff for 10 minutes or something.
This might be a good title for this episode. Yeah, but you just mentioned your drummer. Was that maybe an incentive to learn more instruments because you're listed, at least in Whorestone? Did I pronounce that correctly, or was it
Yeah.
Whorestone? Okay. You're listed as a multi-instrumentalist, and I
used to do it all myself.
So you play guitar, bass, drums, the whole shebang.
Yeah.
This sounds a little bit mean, but how did you end up playing bass?
Because like, what's the expression? Like, it's like something of everything, master of nothing. I can't remember what
Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades, yeah, master of nothing. Something like, yeah, that's kind of me. Like, you know, if I can play a little bit on everything, I guess, self-taught, but not very well.
Okay.
I was a pretty good drummer at one point. Like, in terms of instruments, I think when growing up, at like one point I had a guitar, one point I had a trumpet, one point I had a keyboard, and then I got drums, and I stuck with drums for a long time. I was a pretty good drummer, I think. And then, but I was playing guitar at the same time. But then I couldn't play drums anymore, so I focused more on guitar. I couldn't play drums because I had to move out or whatever. And you can't really have a drum kit in most places. I don't even know how popular, like how much of a thing electronic drum kits were. Like, I don't know, 15, 16 years ago. They're probably really expensive. Is probably why I didn't get one.
It's exactly the same reason why I never learned to play the drums, because I wanted to do it as well. And I had a friend who could borrow me a drum kit, but I had no place where to put it because I was still living with my parents. And
yeah, well, when I was living with my parents, it didn't matter. It was like, I don't give a fuck. But like, as soon as you're living by yourself, it's like, it's my name on the contract.
yeah, that's true.
You're like living in like tiny flats and stuff like that. It's like you start blaring out the drums in a flat block, everyone's going to think you're a complete prick. You get thrown out of there quick.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
so what happened between Horstone and your black metal ambitions and becoming the bassist of Gloryhammer? So something must have happened in this years in between that started the whole thing.
I mean, I had like bands where I was playing guitar between Horstone. I mean, Horstone hasn't been a thing since like 2005 or 4.
Okay.
It was like 15 years ago. But I mean, in between that, I just had loads of stupid bands that like I'd write an album for a band and then never do anything with it. I actually did that quite a lot of times. I mean, the whole Gloryhammer thing. I think I became friends with Chris Bowes in 2009, and I think at some point in 2009 or 2010, he was just like, "Do you want to be in Gloryhammer?" So I was like, "Yeah." I think because originally I was going to be. I think originally the lineup for Gloryhammer was we didn't have Tom as vocals. It was this other guy called Trim. Gaz from Ailstorm was on bass. I was on guitar. I think Paul was still on guitar, and Ben on drums, and Chris on keys. And then Gaz left or didn't bother doing it for whatever reason. So I just did bass. I mean, at the time, I think I only owned one bass. And it was like this really shit one that I bought when I was like 14. There's like no brand. I don't even know what it is. I think it was like from a convenience store kind of bass or something. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, it's not really an instrument. It's just a thing that looks like a bass. But yeah, and that was it really. I wouldn't really class myself as a bassist now. I mean, I can play the bass. I enjoy playing the bass when we play live, but like I'm not the kind of guy that sits at home fret tapping and playing with my thumb going boom, you know, like I hate that kind of stuff. Like whenever I hear like bass like that in a song, I'm just like, ugh.
It's not really how the bass in Gloryhammer sounds, yeah.
Well, I mean, the bass in Gloryhammer is just the root notes for 90% of it or something. So, it doesn't,
so speaking of all the original members in Gloryhammer, how did you get together? Where did Ben come from? Where did Paul come from? Did you know each other beforehand?
Ben and Paul were in a power metal band called Sorcerer's Spell, and Chris knew them because I think they played gigs together. They've supported Ailstorm a few times. I first met them when I think Chris played a gig, played an Ailstorm gig in Bristol under the name Christian Balestorm, and I think Sorcerer's Spell supported them, and I think that's where I think that's the first time we were all at the same place.
Okay.
For like the core original members of Gloryhammer. And that would have been in 2009 or 2010. I mean, Tom didn't join the picture until, I mean, I think Ben found him on YouTube auditioning for Dragon Force, wasn't it? Or something like that. So
yeah, that's a story I heard before.
Yeah, it's something like that. Because I think like he got asked a few times if he wanted to join. He was like, nah. But eventually he did. So
you and Chris knew each other beforehand, and then the rest came together. Is that?
No. I like before like Gloryhammer was a concept before I had anything to do. I think I can't remember what it was. I think when Sorcerer's Spell, Ben and Paul's band toured or did a few gigs with Ailstorm, I think there was a talk like we should form a stupid power metal band. And like it was an idea for a while, and then I mean it was I can't remember if it was 2009 or 2010, but then there was like 3 songs: Hail to Krail, Magic Dragon, and Unicorn Invasion, 3 demo tracks that had
Okay.
at some point been sent to Napalm, and they were like, "Yes, we will sign this straight away." But Chris was just like, "Well, no, I'm not going to bother." And then it wasn't for like 3 years. It was something like that. It was just sat there with like a deal waiting with Napalm until I think like we all convinced him, or Ben convinced him, or he decided, he was like, "Okay, let's actually do this," and signed it, and then wrote the rest of the songs, and then the rest is history or whatever. 2013, I think it was released, wasn't it? I can't remember.
Why didn't you go ahead? Was it just you couldn't be bothered? Was it too...
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, okay. So too much other stuff flying around there.
I don't know. Probably at that point, Chris probably had like 10 other bands. He's always got loads of other bands, hasn't he?
What a luxurious situation that you have a prominent record company that offers you a deal, and you can say,
Yeah. I always feel silly saying it when people ask about it and stuff. I go, "Oh yeah, there was a record deal in 2010, but we just didn't do anything for 3 years." It's just like, yeah, well, that's the way it is. I mean, who knows? Maybe, I guess that's the way it was meant to be, though. It's worked out fine, hasn't it?
oh, absolutely.
If we'd have signed it in 2010, it would have all gone wrong.
So your advice to up-and-coming bands is just wait 3 years and then everything will turn out.
Yeah, when you get a record deal, rip it up, and then think about it again in 3 years' time.
All right. That's
I once heard that you and Chris were living together in Bristol as roommates. Was that afterwards, or?
Yeah, that was after.
Okay.
Like Chris was living in Bristol when I first met him, and he was there for a couple of years, I can't remember. And then he went and lived in the Netherlands for a little bit, and then he came back and lived with me in Bristol for, I don't know, 2 years. I don't know. I honestly can't remember. I got such a bad memory with dates and times and things like that, because time always seems to pass really fast. Or it feels like it does. Or I was drunk for quite a lot of it. I used to drink a lot more back then, so my memory's a bit hazy. But yeah, like when he moved back after that, we lived in this 3-bed. Well, it was a 2-bed flat that got turned into a 3-bed flat with our mate Dan. It was fun times. I think that was really when the Gloryhammer started taking off properly. Around that, I think like before that, we really hadn't done that much. We'd done like a UK tour and some festivals and stuff. But I remember it was when he moved back, we started doing a lot more festivals, and then we did the Stratovarius tour. But I think it was the Stratovarius tour we did the end of 2016, so maybe. And then it was soon after that. It wasn't. Well, I think that was the last tour he did with Gloryhammer, and then he went to America.
Yeah, you moved to Tennessee now, right? Yeah. How is it to have somebody like Chris Bowers as a roommate? I mean, he's quite a character, isn't he?
I don't know. It's fun. He's I enjoyed living with Chris. We used to just go out drinking a lot, or just do stupid shit in the flat all the time. I think it was one of the first nights me and Chris. Well, when Chris moved in, I think Mike came round, and we drank all of Chris's, or tried to drink our way through all of Chris's alcohol in his bedroom. And he used to keep like a whole cabinet in there. I think at some point we were like walking around Bristol in our pants, walking down the street with bottles of alcohol in our hand, because we lived in the city centre, and then ended up collapsing on my floor in a sticky mess, watching weird stuff. I'm not going to tell you what we were watching because it was really weird, but
it sounds like really fun times. Yeah, I'd love to be a fly on the wall during that time.
Maybe a good preparation for the upcoming tours.
But that image, you just put in my head reminds me of something that must have originated in those days, and that is the infamous Shotgun in the Bum video. And I realized that that was probably the first thing you ever released with Tom, right? I mean, he appears in that video, and that was before the first Gloryhammer album came out. No.
We filmed that when Chris was still living in the Netherlands, and we recorded the song when we did. I used to just walk around and sing like stupid things and that whatever came to my head, and one of them just happened to be Shotgun in the Bum, and then that was at the first ever Gloryhammer gig.
Okay.
In the Little Devil in Tilburg.
Okay.
And whilst we were all staying at Chris's that weekend when we played it, I just delivered some vocal lines in Chris's bedroom or whatever, and he recorded them and then made that song out of it. And we shot the video for it on the first ever tour we ever did, which was the UK gig.
I was
UK tour.
wondering if it was some sort of initiation ritual for Tom or something.
No, Tom used to be really serious about stuff back then as well, because I didn't think he thought Gloryhammer was going to take off, so he was really serious about like, oh, you can't show my face in this video, like because I'm a public notary in Switzerland, and if people Google my name and it comes up, I'll be ruined. Then so it was like we just put that stupid line over his black line over his face, over his eyes or whatever.
Yeah, okay, that's where that come from. And now he's playing an.
Well, now he can't get enough of it. Like he fucking, any chance he gets, he goes on like Swiss TV all the time, like doing like interviews and stuff like that, talking about like being a public notary and a singer in a rock band kind of thing and stuff. So,
but I guess it's
he used to at the beginning. He was concerned about it. Wearing
the kind
like
of Bruce Wayne situation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's very funny. I think it's a life decision if you want to bring these two characters together or not, right? I mean,
Regarding the shotgun in the bum video, we had a few questions regarding your nicknames you chose for yourselves. You, as we gathered, are Jimmy Ginger Ale, was it right?
Yeah, I don't think I picked that myself. I think Chris picked that one. I can't remember why that was.
Did Chris pick the name for everybody in the crew?
What was everyone's?
We were just wondering who is Jazz Hands Mahoney.
Oh, that's Ben. I think I kept calling him Mahoney at one point, but I don't know about Jazz Hands. Mahoney's the guy from Police Academy.
Ah, okay.
Ah, yeah, okay.
Tom, what was Tom? I don't know. Mike. I don't know. Mike was in that. Mike's Sargothrax now.
Yeah.
And he was in that as the goblin.
Ah, he was the goblin, okay.
The dancing goblin.
I couldn't recognize him.
Mike was the goblin. I found the mask yesterday. I've got it like literally on stream. I was like, oh, look what I found. I was like, found loads of like old goblin masks.
As a goblin slaying barbarian, you should have a goblin head next to you, right?
Just dotted around the room.
Yeah. Well, I won't ask you where your name Jimmy Cuntfingers during Bumilingus times come from now. That would
I came up with that one.
Okay.
If you ask me why, I can't remember, but yeah. Jimmy Cuntfingers, that was it.
Yeah. That must have been.
I can't remember what Chris's name in that was.
I laughed a lot about Scheißhund as Mike's name, I think.
Yeah. What was Chris's name? I'm going to Google it now. Metal Archives. Oh God, I tell you what, it's been a million years since I've been on Metal Archives website. It looks exactly the same.
Yeah, it's not very modern, that's true.
But it is reliable regarding research info.
Status split up. Okay. Members. What was Chris?
Shitgargler.
Chris is Shitgargler. Okay.
So that was your anal phase, if you want to put it in Freudian terms.
That's a fun band. Like Chris literally says, like on a weekly basis, let's make a Bummelingus album. But we just keep not doing it. So
I think go to a Bummelingus concert without any doubt.
Yeah. I think this Wizard Throne band,
yeah,
that him, Mike, and Tom and Big Leg are doing, like they Mike sent me a song for Bummelingus, and I was like, no, this sounds like black metal or something. And like, I think he got annoyed about it, and he sent it to Chris, and Chris was like, let's form another band. And and now they're literally releasing an album on fucking Napalm Records next year.
And we are the fans that are very much looking forward to that. I mean, that is basically Chris living out his Balthagoth
pretty much
fanhood, I think. Yeah, but that brings up a very interesting point. I mean, it seems like you are, I don't know, this big community of musicians who are all intertwined now. I mean, you mentioned Big Leg, which is Jake from Aether Realm, if I remember correctly. And then there's Matt Bell, who I think is also in Wizard Throne, but also wrote songs for the last Ailstorm record and also wrote songs for the last Gloryhammer record. And I mean,
Yeah,
it's like
well,
there's this team of people where you don't really know who is in which band anymore.
yeah, I guess. Like, I don't know. I think it's just a big pool of talented musicians, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like,
And that changed a bit the songwriting process in Gloryhammer as well, I think, because if I look at who is credited for which songs on the different records, it seems like it's more and more people coming in. And for example, you are credited for some of the songs on the newer album as well. Did the whole process change very much over time?
no. I don't think so. I mean, what songs did I can't even remember now. What was Matt part of? Wasn't it just laser powered dragon laser
Power
dragon
of the
power
laser
fire,
dragon
laser,
fire.
power laser, yeah. Wasn't it just that one? I can't remember.
I don't know exactly. I just noticed that I found him in the credits.
Well, I think that's that little thing that Chris started up. I can't remember. It's like a 3-lettered thing.
Okay.
Like L something B or so, something like that. And it's him, Matt, and Jake.
Okay.
Were writing songs for things. I can't remember.
They seem.
I mean, the only thing I'm credited for on the first Gloryhammer album is the fucking cowbell noise in Legend of the Quest for the Hammer of Glory, because
Okay.
like before I even realized what was going on, the whole fucking thing had been written in that album. But
but it could use more cowbell, as we all know.
I thought that was the contribution of the album, the most important bit. But yeah, I don't know. Like, to be honest, I don't think it really even matters who writes the songs as long as they're good songs.
And I think that you can do. I mean, the success you are having with the band is speaking for itself. Huh?
It's like if you were a bunch of guys and you could only write shit songs, I mean, you probably be a good idea to get someone to write some songs. Not that we all write shit songs, but I think sort of like in any process, getting like outside input is usually pretty good, unless they're shit.
But is it fair to say that this is a big group, as you said, of talented people that are hanging very much together and writing stuff for all kinds of bands? I mean, there's also Eric Brown, who's
he's the drummer from Necrogoblicon, right? And
but there's the same. There's the same names jumping up all the time when you look at what I sometimes call the Chris Bowers universe of bands. Yeah. So there's one band.
That's a good name. That was a good name.
I think we will make an episode about that in some point. So there's one band that we find very mysterious that Tim and I are both big fans of, and I think they belong into that spectrum as well, and that is Ramahoy. And I think you mentioned on the stream that you are friends with these guys as well.
I know some people from Ramahoy. Yeah. I mean, they supported Ayleston on the last tour as well, didn't they? Well, Mike did a solo on their record as well. The worst, the longest solo of all time.
I laughed my ass off when I heard that story. So we are talking about the Triumph of Piracy tracks, this long track on the first Ramahoy. And I actually enjoy that song a lot. I think it has a good drive, and the solo is really what makes the spirit of Ramahoy for me. And when you told on the stream that this is something that Mike did and he thought it would never make it anywhere, and it certainly didn't belong on the record.
Yeah. He got asked to do it, and I think like he started writing it, and then he realized he had to go somewhere, and he had like 5 minutes to do it, so he literally just played anything for like 5 minutes, thinking, this never go in, but it did.
And at the end, it really sounds like he wasn't even trying anymore.
Yeah, that's it. Like, yeah, it starts off kind of like at the top, like, and then just gradually falls off a cliff and just nosedives into the ground. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's loads of people out there that love that solo, but I mean, I love it. I love it not because it's great, but because I find it hilarious.
And Mike and you are very good friends, as I gather.
Yeah, I got a lot of time for that man. I sent him. It was his birthday the other day. I've sent him Johnny Scoville's Tube of Terror. It's like this tube of nuts that has like 13 million Scovilles on each nut or something like that. I saw like I found this video of like people eating it and having like panic attacks and being sick and everything. I was like, oh, Michael loved this. So
Did you get any reaction from him already?
he's not eaten them yet. He said he felt really anxious about it. Like he said like I was messaging him at 4 a.m. the other day when I was drunk, and he's messaging back going like, I feel really stressed out about these nuts. Like it's just knowing that they're in this house. He promised me he'd eat one, and he'll send me it. He'll send me a video of him eating one. So I hope it's worth it, because they were expensive. But
maybe this already counts as chemical warfare.
he said he opened it and smelt them, and it was terrifying. That's what he said. So we'll see.
Regarding our questions, we have another one regarding your live performances. You just mentioned your singer Tom. He wasn't really optimistic regarding the success that Gloryhammer would have later on, but from an outsider's perspective, you rose to fame pretty quickly. You basically released your first album in 2013, and 3 years later you were not at the biggest stage of the Wacken open air, but a really big one. Is that just our perspective, or were these 3 years very hard work that just paid off? And
only 3 years from starting to play Wacken?
Yep.
Okay.
No, not from the first album. From the first album,
stage, isn't it, that we played? Isn't it? It's the smallest stages that we played, isn't it? Because it's those two next to each other.
Well, you played the tent in 2016. Yeah, I was actually there and enjoyed it a lot.
It's like the smallest ones, isn't it? I think.
No, they have even smaller ones. It's a decent stage.
Yeah.
It's like middle ground, so a good place to start at the Wacken.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean,
So did you experience as a quick rose to fame? I mean,
I don't know. Like, we did a lot of crap sometimes. Like, I mean, it's not been all glitz and glamour, but I mean, I don't know. I just enjoyed doing it. I don't really ever think too much about fame or whatever. But like, I don't know. You do get to a point where it's just like stages get bigger and bigger. And when you have to play a smaller one, you get angrier and angrier. Kind of thing. That becomes a thing. Like, you get used to having lots of space, and then sometimes like you play a club show and the stage is really small, and it's just like when you're setting up in front of another band and you can't fucking move or something like that. That kind of sucks. But I don't know. I don't know. Like, when you put it like 3 years, I guess it does seem kind of quick. But I never really thought about it. Trying to think of all the stuff we did in between that. I guess we did like our own headline UK tour. We did European headline and loads of other festivals, little gigs, toured with Stradivarius. We went to Australia, did 70,000 tons of metal.
I think you had a good run. You were booked for pretty good festivals already early on, I think. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess that comes down to booking agents or something, I don't know.
So with the Wacken 2016 gig, that was actually the first time I saw you guys live. I don't know, Tim, were you there as well? I don't know, actually.
Yep.
Okay. So
but further in the back.
So we filled that tent, didn't we? I think like they weren't letting people in or something.
It was
like,
absolutely packed, and you had all these blow up things that people bring to your gigs usually. And I remember that I had an absolute blast, and I was crowd surfing all the time and everything. And then I realized only quite a bit later, when Wacken released the live video from that gig, that at that gig Tom totally blew his voice and basically was squealing the whole time because he couldn't sing anymore. Did you realize that on stage early on?
I didn't know. I didn't know on stage either. I was in the dark on that one until we watched the video. Yeah, like the Wacken video. Like I tell you what, it's amazing that nobody noticed at the time, because like, you know, we got vote. It was like in Metal Ham magazine. It's like the editor or whoever did the review of Wacken puts in like the top 5 fucking bands or something. It's like everyone in the crowd looked like they had a great time. Like everyone afterwards was like, good job, good job. Tom didn't say anything about it. Tom didn't say a word. But this is back in the days when like you know, we hadn't bought all our fancy equipment by then because we used to make no fucking money or whatever. So it's like, now we've got in-ears, and like we can, you know, on my phone I can mix my own in-ears of who I want to hear and all this kind of stuff. Back in those days, it's like we didn't even bring our own sound guy or anything like that, or like stage hands, or no tour manager or nothing. It was like we all just turned up, set our own stuff up, and hoped that whoever the guy at the festival doing our sound was going to do a good job. Like, and you know, it's like we'd always hear like after a gig, like, oh, the sound was terrible. It's like, you know, or it was great. It's like, it was always like a flip of the coin. But like on stage for the monitoring, it was always a flip of the coin as well. It's like, am I going to be able to hear anything on stage today? Who knows? Like, Tom used to get quite anxious about that. Like, it never bothered me that much as long as I could hear the drums. Like, I was okay. But like, I think for that gig, you know, the sound was fine. But all I could hear was like, I couldn't hear any of Tom. All I could see was the crowd going nuts. And I was like, this is great. And yeah, little did we know, it was possibly the worst thing of all time. And it's so bad.
But I can honestly tell you that I enjoyed that gig a lot. I remember when I went out there with my mate Dave, I told him this was the best gig of the whole fucking festival. And I couldn't believe in hindsight that.
Yeah, I guess maybe because like the recording on the YouTube video is like literally some completely unmixed dump of like you know, guitar, bass, drums, and vocals onto the thing. There's no effects processing. There's no nothing. It's like, it's literally just like raw recordings, blams, put it on a video. Whereas when you're at the gig, there was a guy at the front of the house, and whether he had his like headphones on, listening to it, going like, "Oh my god," and he was like. Turning up the delay on Tom's voice, I guess, probably, and like, you know, doing all this fancy stuff with reverb, maybe turning it up and down, like, I don't know, like, and you've got that live sound and everything behind it. So like, obviously that guy did an amazing job, but you know, you can't do anything about that in a recording. Like, it's recorded what it's recorded, so that's there for the rest of the time now.
Did you give Tom shit about that afterwards when it came out?
No, not really. I just laughed.
Okay.
I was kind of just like, oh my god, because I think we were on tour with Hammerfall, and our manager at the time sent us an email going, "So Wacken are releasing this video. Do you guys approve?" And we looked at it, and it was just like, like we've never seen it. You know what I mean? We'd never seen it or anything like that. So it's just like, what the fuck is this? Like, all looking at Tom like, what happened? Like, but he was just like, oh, can we say no? I think our manager at the time was like, yeah, it's Wacken. You probably shouldn't say no. Just let them release it. No one will care. But
I don't really think it hurt you.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to have done us any harm. I remember when it came out and we were all looking at the comments on it, and everyone was like, "Oh, you know, good on for Tom for carrying on when he's sick and stuff like that." So it was like, fair enough.
But if this is your worst performance or a worse performance, then more power to you.
It's nowhere near the worst performance, but it's the worst recording anyone's seen. That's for sure.
All right. What was the worst performance?
Oh, I don't know.
Good answer.
I've no idea. There's been a few. I mean, I've had my moments when I've been too drunk to play properly. Like in the early days, that would happen sometimes. I was just so excited about everything, you know, just like, oh wow, this is gonna be great. Let's get drunk. Now I'm much more professional. But
yeah, but I have very good memories from meeting you only shortly after that Wacken gig at Hamburg Metal Days 2016. Which was met for the very first time, and especially that night after, no, it was the night before the gig, when we went to our hostel. We came back from the Reeperbahn, and we still had a bottle of rum and a bottle of Coke with us. And then I suddenly met Mike in front of the hostel and got in touch with him, and he was telling me that you were searching for your shared hotel room at that point. Can you tell that story?
Yeah, like we used to make a habit of I do remember you. I remember this, but like I mean, back in we still do it now. It depends where we're going, but like we used to do it more so in the a few years ago. Like we would always go early to a festival, like whether it by 1 day or 2 days, just so we could drink like at the festival and then party and do whatever. I quite like Hamburg. Like Mike quite likes Hamburg as well. I always have a good time in Hamburg. So we went there, and we went to Metal Day, heavy Hamburg Metal Days the night before. After, like, we got there, we got to Hamburg, checked into our hotel, and then just went to the festival and started drinking. I think it was Primordial playing like us before us or something. And then we're like, cool, right, let's get out of here. And we went went drinking around the Reefer Barn. There's a few places I go to every time. Like I'm not going to go into those. It's nothing sordid or seedy. But like there's a couple of streets I like to go, and a couple of bars. And we got absolutely trashed. And I remember, like, we're so drunk. I can't remember if we got a taxi to the wrong hotel or we walked to the wrong hotel. But I remember it taking a long time, and we got to some place. Were you at the right one or the wrong one? I can't remember.
For me, it was the right one, and you were at the wrong one because this is a hostel chain, and they have two very close together. Yeah.
Yeah, we did it twice. Like I think we went maybe on both nights.
Yeah.
I think we did this. Like we got so drunk, we went to the wrong hotel, and we just walked into the hotel like, yeah, we're staying here, like flashing our cards around, like walked up and went straight up to like whatever room we thought was ours, and just started banging on the door. Like so we were like putting our card in, and it wouldn't work, so we just started banging on like. Not like, two rational human beings like trying to get in their own, oh, this is not working. It was literally like, why isn't this working? Started like banging on the door, screaming at it, like kicking the door or something. And then like I think someone opened it. It's just like, get the fuck out of here or whatever. So we came downstairs, and then I think it's when we bumped into you and started drinking rum. Yeah. But
And the funny bit of that story was that I had this bottle of rum and this bottle of Coke, and and we didn't have a glass, and for some reason we started to mix rum and Coke in our mouths. And my friend Hirni was with us, and he was so drunk he couldn't participate anymore, and he was just stumbling in the background. And the next day he realized that he had a glass in his pocket the whole time, which he stole from a cocktail bar or something. So we would have potentially had a glass, but but that was a really fun night, actually. And
the funny thing about that is it's like I think it was the next night Mike went to the wrong room by himself.
Okay.
And he like started banging on it, like the same procedure. He's gone to like the wrong room, I think, and like started banging on the door because he thought like the door wasn't working or something like that. And the guy opened it and was like, "Are you okay? Like, what are you doing?" And when we woke up in the morning, I think it was Paul. Like there was a problem. I think it was this festival. There was like a problem with the hotel, and like I think when Paul turned up, they were like, "Oh, there's no more room in this hotel" or something like that. And him and Ben had to go to like a different hotel for whatever reason. And in the morning, like everyone had to get up to get like a flight really early, but like we were late, and we didn't have much time. And none of us could find Paul, and he'd like drunkenly come into the hotel and like didn't know what room he was in or something, and reception didn't even know he was there. They thought he was in a different hotel. We nearly left him in Hamburg. I think it was like as we were driving off, I got a phone call like, I don't know where I am. I think it was a really bad weekend for that kind of stuff.
That really was a bad weekend. I remember that after the first night, which was your gig was on the second day, and I remember that Mike came to me and said that he almost didn't make it to stage because he was so hungover after this first night. Yeah, it was a
bit of a rough day.
Yeah. Since that day, I pride myself that I defeated an evil wizard with alcohol.
I remember that gig. I think it was Machine was there from
Wacken. Yeah.
Wacken, and he was handing out. Me and him had a drinking competition, I think. He was handing out like Jägermeister during the show.
Yeah. And I did the Quest Lord of Inverness during that gig, and I crowd surfed upstairs to get you the drinks on stage.
We were talking about Quest Lords the other day because I don't think that's going to be happening for a long time. Even when gigs can happen again. Do you know what I mean? Like I think that's done.
Because people are too wary of physical contact now.
Well, if you can't be near someone, you can't crowd surf them. And no offense to anyone, but if someone brought me a beer, I wouldn't drink it.
Oh yeah, sure.
So someone brought me a beer from the crowd. I was like, "Here you go." I'm like, "Cool." I'm not doing it. Like, no way. No way.
Yeah, the next gigs, whenever they will happen, they will probably be different than the last ones, I could imagine.
For sure. For a long
Nobody
time.
knows really. I would like to add another story from this Hamburg weekend. I don't know if you remember that part, but the second night we went together to a pub on the Reeperbahn.
Was it?
And
I was expecting, because there was another guy. I'm not sure he's like blonde hair. I'm not sure if he's your friend. He's the one that was sick all over himself.
yes, that is exactly the story I wanted to tell. I didn't know that guy beforehand, but I met him a few months later in the same bar, and since then I have his phone number, but he's not a friend of mine now. But I really enjoyed the situation where he was sitting there and barfing all over his Hollywood Hootsman t-shirt. And the Hootsman was standing there taking out his smartphone and taking a photograph. And I thought, okay, this is Hootsmanception.
It's all about the memories. It's all about the memories. I thought that was hilarious. I know that I've met that guy several times. I forget his name now. I'm really bad with names. Great with faces, but bad with names. But like, yeah, I remember that. I can't remember what that pub. We went to a few pubs that night.
It was a nightlight, actually.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. I remember, like, after that, I think at one point I got so drunk and I was still so hungover from the night before, I like ran away without telling anyone and got like a pizza and in a taxi and like went back to the hotel, and then I was up all night with like insane heartburn. But I remember, yeah, I definitely remember that guy being sick all over himself. I thought I must have the photos somewhere in my Dropbox still.
If you still have the photo, I'm probably sitting right next to him. That's how I remember the scenery.
Poor guy.
But after that, the band got bigger and bigger, right? I mean, now you're playing way more professional shows, so I think these drunken shenanigans are probably not part of your daily tour routine anymore.
Sure, yeah. Okay.
Or are they?
I don't know. We still like to have fun. I mean, we've never it's never compromised a show. That's what I like to say. So
that I can tell. So you had another Wacken gig last year, 2019, which was
like way longer ago.
Which was a way bigger and way more professional show, I would say. But again, you had bad luck at Wacken, right? You had to cancel the last bit of your show due to Zargothrax's evil spell.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, well, I hadn't even noticed. I asked Tom about it afterwards, and he was like, during the show, like this guy kept coming up to him and saying, like, you might have to stop playing.
Okay.
I mean, to be honest with that one, I just look at it like at least we got to play for as long as we did.
Yeah, the crowd shared that reaction actually. But I was just amazed when I saw it because Thomas reacted, from my point of view, it was like Thomas reacted pretty quickly and was just brought up the Zargothrax story. That was pretty impressive.
I'm impressed. Yeah, but I don't know. Like, yeah. I mean, it could have just been worse. Like, we could have played like no songs. Because some bands did play no songs, I think, and some got moved from like the main stage to the little tent or something like that. I think Craig, because I was talking with, just bumped into Danny Filth and started talking to him backstage because their show got postponed and moved from main stage to a tent, I think, or something like that.
And did he get angry because he had less space?
No, he wasn't. I don't recall him being angry. He was just like, what the fuck's going on? Nobody knew what was going on for us because, like, for a little while, we were like, "Are we going to go back and finish?" or stuff like that. So it was a bit of chaos for a moment, I think, when it was because it was like, right, get off the stage, and now we had to walk to some like old school or something like that, I think, because we weren't allowed to stay in the backstage because of potential lightning strikes or something.
They had like, I don't know, 90 lightning strikes all around Wacken, but nothing really struck the festival side. So it was a weird weather phenomenon.
is it Nuremberg or somewhere like that where the festival where they actually had a lightning strike in the fucking crowd or something like
Oh
that?
yeah, was that Hurricane
Yeah,
or
like,
something? I remember that were actually
was it Rock am Ring?
Rock am
Rock am
Ring,
Ring, yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, and like, yeah, I mean, after that happens, you know, when like bad weather comes in, it's like if you don't evacuate people and someone gets struck by fucking lightning, you're probably going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
You gotta.
It's pretty metal, but probably not worth it.
You don't want to get hit by lightning.
Yeah, so you were actually with Gloryhammer, you were actually the only real metal tour I saw this year, or we saw this year. I actually saw you twice, and
Yeah, we're pretty lucky, right? Pretty lucky though. Like I kept saying that to like when all this shit kicked off and everything. Like I was like, well, thank fuck we managed to get that fucking tour done. Because like
so did we. So did we.
It was like pretty much like I literally got home from the tour, and then it was like I remember I can't remember. It's like I think we were listening to the radio and looking at the news on the way home, and it was like virus China spreading Europe, and it was just like, what the fuck is this? And then it was like a couple of weeks later, it was like, yep, you're not allowed to leave your house. And I was like, what? Like this is. And then of course it got fucking even worse.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. So you easily take the cake this year for the best tour of the year because it was almost the only one that was happening. But
I'll take it. I'll take it.
But it also featured some special guests. I don't know if our listeners know this, but you actually toured with Tom Jones, which was pretty epic. And we were just
every tour, the last 3 tours he was with us, man. Tom Jones.
Oh, that long, actually.
Really?
Oh, Tom
Well,
Jones.
I mean, they were all in the space of like 5 months. But,
What a legend. And we were just wondering with which mythical British music legend would you like to tour on your next gig?
Tom Jones.
Tom Jones. Good answer. Good answer.
Tom Jones.
But I think that paper cut, so for our listeners who don't really know the tour story, you had a paper cut of Tom Jones, a life-size paper cut, right before you started your gig, and you played, which song was it again? I don't remember.
Delilah.
Delilah, right. And everybody was just with their what the fuck faces, what was going on there. But I think that paper cut was sold in the end, right?
Yeah, I think, or was it? No, I think it came home. Actually, I can't remember.
Okay.
There was 2. We had 2.
Ah, okay.
They might be exact. Maybe someone bought one on one tour. Yeah, I can't remember. I think maybe it probably did. Someone always buys something like that. I enjoyed it. Like I mean, there was a lot of most gigs. People sung along to Tom Jones. Most gigs.
Well, it definitely didn't kill the mood.
Yeah. Some gigs, like people were like, "What the fuck?" But most people got.
But the start of that tour was a little bit rough for you, right? You had to start playing in a wheelchair.
Yeah, I did. Like, it was like, I mean, my back's never been that bad. Like, you know, everyone gets a bit of a sore back every now and then. Like, I've done some pretty grueling jobs in my time, like on your back and stuff like that. But like, I think it was like a week before the tour. I was in Poland visiting my partner's parents, and like the bed there's super uncomfortable, so that upset my back. And then when I got home, like I've never been to a physio or anything like that about back, and I think I like remembered in my head like chiropractor, or maybe it was like from The Simpsons or something, and I didn't really know what a chiropractor was, and I didn't really say anything about it. I just did it. I just Googled chiropractor near me, and I went to one, and they led me down on this thing and just did weird shit to my back. Like they were like pulling my legs, like trying to make my back crack and do all this kind of crap. And like I left there, and then I got home, and then an hour later, my back just suddenly went, and I was paralyzed on the floor and I was on that floor for like 2 days. Until I then had to phone up the emergency line and get like someone to come to my house and inject my bum with this like anti-swelling painkiller crap. And then a doctor had to come visit me and gave me like this insane prescription of drugs. so I could actually like get up and get out of bed and stuff like that. And I'd message if this was like a day before the tour now, and I messaged the tour managers to like, look, you're gonna have to. I don't know. I don't care how you do it, kind of thing. But you need to find a wheelchair, otherwise I'm not coming.
Oh.
So it's like, to be fair, he found one. Like within 5 minutes, he found a wheelchair. So I went. But yeah, I think it was like 3 or 4 shows I played on in the wheelchair, but it was like the biggest shows of the tour, which was depressing. But
the sold out big venue in Hamburg, that's where I saw you. And
yeah, Hamburg sold like 2,500 tickets in Turban Hall.
Turbinenhalle, yeah.
Whatever.
Oberhausen, exactly, yeah.
That's it, yeah. And then sold out Antwerp. It's like 1,000 or something, 1,200, I don't know. But yeah, that's it.
At the Hamburg gig, I did the Quest Lord fetch quest and put the beer right in front of you, and you only gave me a sad look because you were on the heavy painkillers.
I was on like diazepam, Codamol, some other crap. It's like if I'd have drank that beer, I'd probably be dead, I think. So
yeah. So no offense taken, actually.
Yeah, it's not very fun playing a gig in a bass, I'm not gonna lie. That sucked.
Yeah. But your back is better now?
No, it's not really. Like I mean, it's better than at that point in time, but like I have to be super careful. It was literally just about 2 days ago. I was in the room that I'm in now, moving my desk across the room, and like to do that I had to like, the desk is really heavy, and there was some boxes in the way and stuff. I did that, and then about an hour later I sat down on the bed and then tried to get up again, and my back went. I had to like freeze for a moment, like, oh my god, not again. But it's just about being careful and not doing stupid stuff. To be honest, I think if I was like active, doing stuff more, I wasn't locked down at home and things like that, I think it'd be a lot better. But I think it's because I spend a lot of time sitting now at the moment, doing fuck all. Do you know what I mean? Like, because you can't go anywhere and do anything. It's like, well, I'm sitting down all the time, which I reckon's not very good for it. And I mean, I don't want to offend anyone listening, but never go to a chiropractor. I actually looked at what a chiropractor does. When I talked to the guys about it after my back had gone, this is before the tour, they were like, well, why did you go to a chiropractor anyway? I was like, what do you mean? And they were like, well, it's not real, kind of thing. And I looked into it, and it turns out the guy who came up with chiropractic made up chiropractic. He says a ghost told him how to chiropract. It's true, completely true. He says a ghost told him what chiropractic was, and that's why he started doing it. So there you go. But so
kids never take medical advice from The Simpsons.
Yeah, that's it. I can even remember what the episode is in my head now. It's like when Homer's trash can gets dented, and then people fall in it, and it fixes their back, and then a bunch of chiropractors come and smash up his trash can. That's that's it.
So, as a Hootsman, you play pretty much a larger-than-life character. On the last tour, you came on stage to the Hulk Hogan theme, which you changed a little bit.
Hulk Hogan theme? You mean the Hootsman theme?
Yeah, the Hootsman theme, yeah, that Hulk Hogan stole from you, sorry. And how is it to be such a larger-than-life character to a lot of fans? Because I see a lot of fan art, I see a lot of, I don't know, you were built into computer games and everything. How is it to have such an important persona for a lot of engaged fans?
I don't really think about it.
Okay.
Never really thought about it. Like the whole Hootsman thing is like, I don't know, just based on me liking to drink and being daft. I don't know.
Okay.
Like I don't know how to answer that. Like I'm glad people find it all fun. Like because if they don't find it fun, I'm sure there's a lot of people that think I'm an idiot. So I don't know.
But I mean, a lot of people are nerding out over the whole Gloryhammer storylines and about this whole universe and created, and
people do that. People like their lore. Like I mean, there's different shades of any fandom, I guess, isn't there? There's people that are like You know, there'll be people that like the music, there'll be people that like the music and the story, and then there'll be people that like want to delve as far into the story as possible and, I don't know, come up with other stuff or whatever. Whatever people want to do to enjoy it, it doesn't really bother me. I mean,
Do you think you still have a full comprehension of the Gloryhammer storyline?
not at all, and I haven't from the beginning. So, I mean, I know what happens. I don't know all the crazy details though. Like, people always asking me questions about stuff I have no idea, and I don't think that's because I'm ignorant. But like, some of it I didn't even know. It's like, where is this even written? You know, like some of it. Because in the first album, I don't even appear until like halfway through the last song, and then in the next album, there's like hoots everywhere, and then. But like but like the story wise, there's loads of stuff I don't know.
So is there basically a moment after each album release where the band is like, what the hell is going on? I mean, Thomas actually stated that the storyline is so convoluted and complicated, basically only Chris understands it.
I mean, that could be true. I don't know. I don't. But here's my storyline understanding of it. There's an invasion of Dundee. Then rides a magic dragon and gets 3 artifacts, one of them being the Amulet of Justice, to defeat Sargothrax. Then they freeze him in liquid ice. Then thousands of years later, he gets unfrozen. There's a Hollywood Hootsman, a Goblin King, and then some kind of battle at the end, space battle with astral dwarfs. And then an eye explodes, and there's a wormhole. And then Tom goes through it after Zargothrax, and it's been a longer time than a split second or whatever it is. And he's got like an evil empire. The hammer doesn't work. Goes to space to fix it. Then there's a Hoots force and a missile, and Tom dies.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Oh, and you descend from heaven.
Yeah, I descend from heaven. It's like anything more than that. I mean, I'm sure I'm aware of like it, but like I don't think I need to know any more than that.
That's a good attitude. And we all look forward what happens on the next album, because we all want to know how the story continues. Are you already working on that? Is that something that's in progress already? Chris dropped some bits.
We were flushing out a story. I mean, we've been doing that a fair bit. Like, every now and then, it'd be like, oh, what about this? And then like a discussion goes around it and stuff. I think there's a general idea of a story, which will probably change completely when it comes to doing it anyway. As for writing songs, it hasn't really been. I mean, it hasn't been the main focus at the moment because we didn't get to finish touring the album that we just did. We had plans for that. So, but I mean, there is a folder full of song ideas. Well, I say full. I mean, there's like a folder from Mike, a folder from Ben, a folder from Tom, folder from Chris, folder from Paul, some ideas from me. Usually when like Gloryhammer, it's time to be like writing a Gloryhammer album. It's not been being done years in advance. It's usually been like, oh, I should probably do an album. And then like suddenly one appears kind of thing. So
the songwriting is now pretty equally distributed between all of you, as it sounds?
I don't know. Like, to be honest, I think it's just ideas. People just need to make ideas and riffs, and then sooner or later songs will be made, whoever it's by, and then
okay.
done. I've got something else that I'm writing at the moment that I'm focusing on more at the moment than Gloryhammer, because like I said, I mean the problem with it is at the moment as well, and like I'd like to think that we would have a new album at the end of 2022 or fall 2022, because I wouldn't see the point in releasing an album and not being able to tour it. Imagine if, because I tell you what, I know Chris said to me he wasn't that bothered about it, so that's fine. But like if it was me, because I know of like bands this year who's released an album this year, like Visions of Atlantis, you got Ailstorm, some Aether Realm and stuff like that, who've released an album and can't play a single fucking show.
Yeah.
Like, kind of sucks. It's not a waste of an album by any means, but like, you know, when you release an album, usually then you would hit the road to tour it, like either supporting bigger bands, doing your own headliner, doing festivals and stuff, promoting the thing. So it's like, I don't know, like I said, we got so much stuff. We had so much stuff planned for the end of this year, beginning of next year, and then festival season, and then stuff in the future, you know, international stuff that's all been cancelled and being rearranged. You know, I think like as soon as you can play gigs again, I think it would just be a good idea to just go play gigs, then release a new album, I think.
Yeah, especially with a band like Gloryhammer or, as you mentioned, Ailstorm, that really are live bands that you really have to experience live to fully enjoy.
It'd be kind of lame, wouldn't it? Like, here's an album. Goodbye. See you next year. Like, maybe.
You're not one of those bands. So what can we expect from you as a, I don't know, is it just solo artist work? What kind of genre or what kind of style of music would you do?
Oh, you'll have to wait and see.
Okay.
You'll have to wait and see. You have to wait and see. But it'll be very 80s orientated.
Yeah, you mentioned on the stream that you're a big hair metal, glam rock fan.
It won't be specifically glam hair metal, but it'll be very 80s orientated. It'll be great. It'll be a slight Gloryhammer spin-off of the Hootsman-ish, but you'll have to wait and see.
Very much looking forward. I think this is a good point to end the interview. We don't want to overstretch your time either. So thanks a lot for being on our podcast, and I hope that everything gets back to normal very soon so that we can meet on the road again.
Yeah, same here, man. Like, we're going into lockdown again on the 28th of this month where I am. So it's like, you know, soon it will be a year and nothing will have changed. So we'll see.
We have to wait. We are back into hard lockdown here in Germany as well.
Yeah.
But in the meanwhile, while our listeners are bored, please give the Hootsman's Twitch stream a go. He's the real Hootsman on Twitch, and I think that's very entertaining. I can especially recommend the Boozy Fridays.
First Friday of every month, Boozy Friday. It's a good time.
I will come by now and then again as well. Yeah, so thanks a lot.
No, you're welcome.